where do you throw the toss, and how high do you throw the toss? Well, remember the hand comes up like this, follows this hand, and you'll see a little arc. It'll go like this. That will give you a rhythm, but most people think you throw the ball straight up and down right out in front of you, but it actually looks like the baseball glove when you throw the ball. If you throw the ball approximately 17 to 20 inches out of your outstretched hand, that'll be about the height out of your hand that the racket will be hitting the ball at the peak of the reach. Now here's the secret. When both arms come up together like this, you do not have to rush the racket because the ball has gone nowhere. So watch how much time I have to hit a ball even though there's a low toss. You don't have to rush anything. As a matter of fact, most people think a low toss will give you less time to make the hit. Wrong. If the two hands go together, now you'll have almost 10 times longer to hit a ball because you can hit it just before the peak, at the peak of the toss, and just below. But if you throw the ball high, it drops through the hitting zone. Watch what happens if you have the typical trophy look. The left hand goes up first. The racket is down. But now you must calculate gravity. And when this left hand goes up in the air, if it reaches the peak, for example, 2 full seconds before this racket swings, you must throw the ball about 48 feet in the air. That means someone on the 4th floor should see you tossed. So don't give us the trophy look. Bring both hands together like you're going to throw the ball. Now you get a nice, easy rhythm, and you get more time to swing. Where do you throw the ball on the serve, and how do you hold the ball? Well, you can hold it any way you want to. Most people hold the ball with the palm up. Some hold it with the side up. And many of the top players hold it palm down. Now, when you throw the ball, it should be to the right of your head. The reason for that is when you unwind your shoulders, it throws the racket out to the right whether you like it or not. If you throw the ball straight out in front, you now turn, the ball's not here, it's out there. So here's what it looks like. Now you lose all of the power. The minute your racket begins to make an angular change, you lose all the power. So throw it out to the right. Now watch again. I'll throw the ball to the right. Keep your head up, but the power system is out here. If you draw a line from this shoulder to this shoulder, that's where the power is here. It's not here. Watch. Most people think power comes from having a real strong wrist snap. But that's not it. Power really comes from a forearm snap. So you need a loose elbow to go with a loose wrist. We took some of the top players in the world, calculated 100 serves, and we found almost no wrist movement just before impacting the ball. It all comes back in here, more wrist at this point, but up at the top, it's forearm twisting. As a matter of fact, the hand never makes this movement. The hand makes this movement. It pronates. Well, you've got to have a loose elbow. So we see people come back to serve, the elbow gets tight, and they swing this way. And they think it's in the wrist. But you see, if the arm is stiff and you try to snap the wrist, you can't get power. As a matter of fact, most people who try wrist hit themselves in the thigh. Now, can you feel a loose elbow? Well, the problem on the serve is sometimes when you go back here, the racket gets out of your peripheral vision. And when it gets out of your vision, you can't see what's going on. So people swing like this, and we'll say, man, take a look. Didn't you see your elbow is tight? Didn't you feel it? And they go, look, I'm just happy to be alive. Well, I'm telling you right now, you've got to think spaghetti. So when you get ready to serve, look at some of those top players. They may get like this at first, but then they start to loosen up. You want a loose elbow, a loose arm, so that when you stop the body, the arm can snap. So watch this one. Very relaxed, loose arm, loose forearm, loose hand. Look at that power system. It all comes from being loose. So don't think about the wrist, think about the forearm. Go spaghetti. If you're having trouble getting power on your serve, here's another tip that just may solve that particular problem. It may not be in the racket hand. It may be in the throwing hand. If you take a look at the top players when they serve, the throwing hand goes up and it comes right back into the body. Gee, that's a strange look, you say. Well, I learned to come down the left side of my body and do this kind of thing. But the top players finish there, but it moves so quickly that sometimes you don't see what happens just before the ball is impacted. The next time you see a slow motion replay, take a look at this. And you'll see the hand come against the body. It momentarily breaks the shoulder and turns the forearm into a whip, and it gives you this look. And you can hit it really hard. So don't let the left hand come in this way. Don't let the shoulder fall down. Make sure that you turn, break the body, snap the ball, and then fall in. And you're going to get so much power, it's scary. But again, the secret may be not in this hand. The secret is in this one. Make the break. Baseball pitchers do exactly the same thing. They throw the ball, the left hand comes in like this to the body. Watch. So take a tip from the Major League Baseball pitchers. Break the shoulder with the non-hitting hand. All great players must learn how to control spin on the serve. Now, when you're serving and you turn around into the ball and you hit the ball squarely on the backside, that's a flat serve. Squarely on the back. And remember, you cannot hit down. The racket will probably be vertical at the impact point on nearly every flat serve. We did the famous basketball player Artis Gilmore, 7'2". He was too short to really hit down on the ball. Watch the flat serve in slow motion. The topspin serve is very important to learn because you can hit the ball hard, form the arc, just as you do on the forehand and backhand, and make the ball go over the net and down. How do you achieve topspin? Remember what we said. Only one way. The racket must be vertical, going low to high. Same on the serve. The racket's vertical, going low to high. So on the topspin toss, can you throw the ball the peak of your reach? Nope. You actually have to throw it lower. So now you go up this way. Topspin toss is actually lower and slightly a little bit more to the left. The slice serve puts sideways spin on the ball, and it can curve away from an opponent. Very important to know how to hit a slice so you can move your opponent way out of court. When you come up to hit the ball, rather than hitting flat behind the backside, you have the racket slightly tilted, going left to right. That produces the side spin, produces the curve, the same as a baseball pitcher pitches when they want to make the ball go away from the player. Watch a slice serve or a side spin serve in slow motion. I'm going to try to make this game simple for you. It's not a difficult game, but sometimes it's very difficult to do the simple things. But you're going to be amazed at how well you can play if you master 3 or 4 little concepts. I'm telling you, it will amaze you. When you hit the ball, you have to have the racket pointed towards the target. That's one. So that just means get it going out towards the target as long as you can. You have to know how to go low to high to hit the ball. You have to know to what spot you want the ball to go. For example, if your opponent's in that corner, try hitting it to this corner. When they're in this corner, hit it to the other corner. Who can you beat doing that? Nearly everyone in the world. Imagine that. So let's see how you hit the ball to make it go there. One, let's talk about spin. When you hit the ball, you want topspin. Topspin simply means you have the racket going low to high, you brush the ball on the backside, it creates a spin. What value is the spin? Well, when you hit the ball and it goes up over the net, the pressure on top pushes it back down. When you hit a ball like this, you get some topspin. When you hit a ball like this, you get more topspin. When you hit a ball like this, you get a lot more topspin. So the more vertical is the swing, the greater is the topspin. The greater the topspin, the more the ball is rotating. The faster it's rotating, the more it goes up, and the faster it comes down. So just think about producing a rainbow. Now, why do you want to produce a rainbow? Because when you swing straight across, no one, not you, no pro, is strong enough to hit the ball over the net on a horizontal plane. Think about that. Watch when I hit this ball. I'll swing really hard and swing this way, but watch where it goes. See, I can't get it over the net. So in this game, you're going to have to learn how to go low to high, make the ball go over the net and in. Is that a difficult thing to do? Yep. The reason is because you have a tendency to get the racket on the same level as the point where you're going to meet the ball. It's as natural as anything. So now you're going to have to learn how to get the racket down before you start the forward and upward movement. That's topspin, and that's going to make you famous by Friday. When you watch the top players, you'll have a tendency to see two types of swings. A swing that starts low, straight back, up, low, straight back, up. But most of the top players in the world make a little C, or what we call a loop swing. Now, why would most of them make the loop swing? Because the loop provides more power. If this shoulder is loose, when the arm falls, you pick up some help from gravity. And if you have a 4-foot loop, your racket's traveling at about 11 miles per hour when it reaches the bottom of the swing. But think about people who go straight back. They have no power at this particular point. They must recruit these muscles very quickly. So if you see people who go straight back, they usually will not have the power that the players have who take the loop. But take your pick. It doesn't really matter which one you use. But again, watch the pros, and almost all of them have the loop. Now, when you swing, the idea is to get down lower than the intended point of impact with the ball, raise it up when you hit, have the racket vertical at the impact point, and then finish with a follow-through up in here. Now, take a look at that swing. It's just straight up on this arc. And if you could put a little dot on this shoulder, a little dot on this chin, and make the two dots meet, now you've really got a great swing. Now, what about power from the body? We talked about power from the arm. The body power comes in 4 segments. From the foot to the knee is segment 1. From the knee to the hip is segment 2. Hip to the head is 3. Arm and racket 4. And it's the same whether you're hitting a backhand, a forehand, two-handed backhand. It makes no difference. You must use your body in segments. When you turn your body to get ready to hit with power, the first segment that turns into the ball and arrives at its destination is segment 1, to the knee. Second segment is 2, then 3, and then 4. Watch how it looks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what's so important to remember on all strokes during this series is that when one segment stops, the next segment speeds up. That's important. Have you ever wondered how little kids get so much power on their shots? Well, here's how it happens. When this segment stops, it's just like a whip. When you take a whip and stop your hand, the whip goes through the air very fast. This hand stops, decelerates, makes the next segment accelerate faster than human muscle can contract. So when this knee stops, this one goes faster. If this one stops, this one goes faster. And the secret is, if you'll stop this segment, then the arm and racket go very fast. They turn into a whip. And that's why the great Ken Rosewall, when you saw him hit the forehand, this hand would stop. And the minute this hand stopped, this arm and racket became a whip. Watch. You know, boom. That is so important to learn. And if you'll watch some of the great players on the backhand side, Elliot Telscher, Ivan Lendl, when they hit, you'll see them turn, and then this hand will go out. It stops the body and makes this arm become a whip. That's how people get power, and that's why you do not have to be big and muscular to hit it if you'll understand some of the physical laws. So now you're all set to hit the forehand. You make this turn. Remember, if you'll just think about putting the racket against your belly button, now you turn back with the hand and the racket. Now, when you get to this point, just before you hit, stop with the belly button. Watch. Stop, and this becomes a whip, and you'll hit so much harder, it'll almost scare you. But what do most people do? They don't use the whip. They just keep right on going. And they never turn the arm and racket into a whip. You know, very often players get all wrapped up in the follow-through and don't understand the real role of the follow-through. If the ball is on the strings only for 1/1000th of a second and then it's gone, what value is the follow-through? And the answer, it has zero value for guiding the ball. Once the ball's off the strings, follow-throughs do not help you at all. Watch. I'll hit a ball with a weird follow-through and it will not change the direction. The ball still goes over the net and lands in the appropriate place. Now let's go the other way. I'll hit a lousy shot with a great follow-through and see where it goes. It is not the follow-through's purpose to carry the ball. The real reason you work hard on a follow-through is in case you're too early. If you hit the ball here all the time, that's super. You don't need a good follow-through. But if you're too early on the shot and you don't hit it here, but you hit it here, if you have a good follow-through, that will ensure your shot. So the reason for a follow-through is in case you're too early on your swing. What happens if you're too late? Nothing can bail you out. You're dead. The two things to remember on backhands. If you have strong extensor muscles, it'll help you keep the racket steady. The other is attitude. Keep this in mind. When you hit a forehand, you're hitting even with the front side of your body. There's a slight pinch sometime in the shoulder right at this position, and that has a tendency to slow down the upper arm. When the upper arm slows down, the lower arm or forearm has a tendency to speed up, come around your body, makes it difficult to hit a straight ball. But look what happens on the backhand. On the backhand, little pinch maybe on the backswing, but as you go towards the ball, you're going away from the body. That gives you a nice, easy swing. Now, where should you hit the ball in relation to your body? On the forehand, we said even with the front side. But on the backhand, just simply take the racket, lay it against your side, lay the arm down. Now you get your backhand grip, hold the racket. That's where you'll hit the backhand. If you hit a one-handed backhand. But if you hit a two-handed backhand, now think forehand. If the left hand's on it, if you're a right-handed player, you hit even with the front side again. So if you're one-handed forehand, even with the front side of your body, two-handed backhand, even with the front side of your body. One-handed backhand, lay the racket down, hold your arm out like this, and then get your grip. Are you having trouble deciding, should I hit a one-handed backhand or a two-handed backhand? Well, here's some advice, a tip that may make that decision easy for you and put you on your way to some major event. If you're going to hit with one hand, there's a lot of pressure on this arm, especially on this side, the extensor muscles. And if you don't have a strong set of extensor muscles, that racket may wobble. If you want the racket head to stay still, and you certainly do, many people have elected to go with two hands because now they can brace the racket with two hands. How important is it to keep the racket head still? Well, on many shots in this game, a 1-degree racket turn can vary the ball by as much as 6 feet where it lands. So a steady racket head is extremely important to you. Now the big question comes. I always hear, say the critics, that two hands will require that you move further out. You must be faster because you don't have the reach. That is a myth. If you reach out with two hands, you can reach comfortably to this position. But when you hit a one-handed backhand, you will now hit here. And you will find that this radius from the body is a lot shorter than this radius that you can hit with two hands. And remember, power is related to the length of the radius. So if you have a longer radius, you can actually hit the ball harder. Now, one of the problems on the one-handed backhand is that you use all four body segments, from the foot to the knee, knee to the hip, and the shoulders and the arm and racket, four segments. With a two-handed backhand, there's a little bit more two-segment identification, lower and upper body. But you must be supple. So if you don't have a supple upper body and you can twist easily at the hips, I would go to one. But if you can twist easily at the hips and you want to reach out, I would go with two. When you're playing this game, first of all, the attitude must be proper. You are too short. You can't hit down on a ball. You must lift the ball. You know you have to be 6 feet, 7 inches tall to stand behind the baseline, look over the net, and see any part of the back line on a tennis court? Well, that's unbelievable. But if you think that you're short hitting up, then it's going to help your game. Now, if you'll also understand that the lower part of your body, your legs, your thighs, are much stronger normally than your arms, especially for women. So if you'll learn to lift the body when you hit, then you're going to get more power, plus lift it over the high net. Now, when you lift, people say, I can't get the power that way, though, because I should be getting all the body into the ball. But you know something? We've done a lot of research on this. And when you lift your body, you can literally double the force that you can put into the ball. But then the argument comes out that when you lift, you're going to knock the ball too far out. But remember, if you have parallel vectors, if the racket is going at this angle and the body's going at that angle, you also can impart a little topspin. The ball goes over and down. I did a lot of studying on Jimmy Connors, and I watched his two-handed backhand. And you got to remember that Jimmy Connors comes off the ground almost after every shot. It's not that he's trying to jump off the ground when he hits his great two-handed backhand. It's that he's lifting so much that the summation of the forces actually pull him off the ground. So I'm suggesting to you that you don't try to stay down with the ball. You try to lift, and lift at the same angle, forward and upward into the ball. Then the critics sometimes say, wait a minute, if you lift, though, you're going to throw your head back. Well, that's a myth. You don't have to throw your head back to lift your body. It is true that if you lift your head, you're going to pull the racket across. But if you keep your head still when you lift, you're going to be home free. Watch, I can jump off the ground. I didn't have to lift my head. So keep the head still, follow the ball in, and when you lift, you'll see that you're going to get all kinds of power into the shot. Believe me, if you use your thighs, you are going to learn to play this game well. And you can use a chair out on a tennis court sometime. Bring it out and just sit right in the chair and come up out of the chair. Just remember, Jimmy Connors, eat your heart out, because the rest of us are going to get a good backhand. Backhand. Forehand. Backhand. You know, very often my critics say, look, Vic, you're recommending that people change grips on the forehand and backhand. There's insufficient time to do that. That's why they recommend the continental grip. But let me show you this little trick. You know, people don't really practice changing from forehand to backhand. But if you'll try this little game, I'll guarantee you'll do it so quickly it'll scare you. Watch, I've got a forehand grip. If I have to change all the way to the top, that's 90 degrees. Well, if I make this hand turn down an eighth turn, or just a little, this hand turn down just a little, 2/8, make a quarter. A quarter's 90 degrees. So all a backhand grip change is this. Doom, doom. Now, you're going to try to put this together with your feet. See if you can take a step faster than your hands can move. Are you ready? You can practice this at home. I tell you, it's a knockout, and you'll learn to change grips faster than you can take a single step. Watch. Forehand grip. Backhand already. Notice that my hands are beating my feet. Try this. But remember, do it alone. Because when people see you playing this crazy game, they're going to think you're weird. You know, when you're playing this game, we say, hit those ground strokes deep. Keep your opponent back. But all you're waiting for is the first short ball. And when you get a short ball, you should theoretically win the point, because now you can attack, get good net position. But the approach shot is one shot in this game that's been neglected by most players. When you get a short ball, you should have been ready. So always you're saying to yourself, it's going to be a short ball. Now, if it's deep, don't worry, sit back and hit. But be ready for the short one. Now, when you hit the approach shot, you're on the dead run, and you try to keep your head very still. Short backswing. Try to make the racket go out through the ball. And a slight underspin is okay, or a drive is okay. But we prefer a little bit of a flat hit. That takes a low bounce, makes your opponent hit up. To which side do you hit the approach shot? You always hit to the weaker side, the side that the opponent's going to give you a higher ball and slower ball for an easy volley or an easy overhead. So let's go through it. I'm waiting for the short ball. I get it. Here it comes. Now I run through it. The racket's high. Keep right on going into the net. Get your position. Be ready to go. The approach shot. Racket head up. Elbow up. Go out through the ball. Don't cut down on it. Don't roll the racket over. Hit through to the target. Try to get depth. That'll get you closer to the net. Better volleying position. Better overhead position. Well, if you want to win the point fast, you're going to have to be able to get into the net. Most people have a problem on the volley because of the elbow. As they come into volley, the elbow stays in close, the racket head lays back. Now, if you're late, the ball goes over the fence. If you're early, it goes into the net. Most people don't volley well because they have a radius on the volley. All you have to do is take this elbow, push it up, and now go across the tabletop. And watch, we put some cups on a board for you to show how we can wipe all of those cups right off the board by going through the volley, not down on the volley. But most people who come into volley stop on the volley, and when they stop, the racket pulls down. Now, what we want people to do is to come in and volley out. Watch, the slightest down hit will pull the ball into the net. Not this one, this one. Take a look at this. You see, the ball goes in the net with the slightest down hit. Now, if you start hitting out this way, it'll just barely go over the net. No, now a little shorter. But what we really want is a ball that goes up about 2 feet above the net, this sort of a swing. Now you'll volley with great depth. So when you come in, don't stop the volley. Be like John McEnroe. Run through the volley. Now the racket can stay up. You don't drop it down, and you hit a deep shot, plus you're closer to the net. People say, wait a minute, my racket doesn't come down, but I guarantee you that when you stop, it's just like a car. The front end goes down, the back end goes up. And that's why you see so many people rush the net in order to lose at a faster rate. Do you have trouble with balls coming at your feet? Most people don't like them. They just kick them. And the problem is that when a ball is coming off the court, which is called a half volley, it's coming at this sharp angle, and most people come in and try to scoop it up. Well, the ball coming off the court at this angle now goes very high. Incident and reflected angles. What you want to do is just close the face and lift. But it's very difficult to lift if you try to do it with the arm, because the arm has to be very strong. What's the secret? The secret is to use your thighs on the half volley. Come into the ball, keep the racket face closed, and just lift straight up on your toes. Now watch, I'm going to try to lift some. See, it's no problem at all. Let your body lift, and the thighs will lift the ball right up over the net. Now when you're lifting on your half volley, keep your head down. Watch, down, and then lift, and keep right on going to the net. Keep the arm rigid for forehand and backhand half volleys, but always use your thighs. And it's so doggone much fun because now you don't play with the racket, hit the ball over the fence. You can really drill them in doubles when the ball's at your feet. So remember, firm arm, close the face, and play with the thighs on the half volley. When you are swinging, you need a smooth swing on the overhead. But most people can't get a smooth swing on the overhead because they drop their chin. They're all set to hit, the chin drops. Now they got a racket going up, a chin going down, and the ball usually will go right on into the net. The next point is to use your entire body. Remember the kinetic chain. There are 6 segments on a good serve, 6 segments used on an overhead smash. From the foot to the knee is segment 1, knee to the hip is 2, hip to the head 3, the upper arm, forearm, and hand. So 6 segments, and they unwind from the ground up. Well, you need all 6 segments to work in order to hit a smooth, powerful overhead. But most people can't do that because they point the finger at the dropping lob. If you point the finger, then you have to be triple jointed to make all of these segments work. It doesn't go that way. That's why the top players do not point their finger first, they point the elbow. Because if you point the elbow first, then you can unwind all of the segments. Now keep in mind that the overhead smash must be hit up. When a ball is dropping at a 45-degree angle, you must hit up 8 degrees in order to hit the ball only about 43 feet long. Dr. Patrick Keating, a physicist, showed us conclusive evidence that you must hit up on a dropping ball for the overhead smash. And boy, when we run the test, it's a knockout. But people get up to hit the overhead, they hit it down, walk to the net, and get their ball. Remember that the overhead smash is an all-or-nothing shot. You must go for it. Most people begin to choke on the overhead, and then they get nervous. Now they push it, and they're stuck in no man's land, and they push it a little easy overhead, and people come in and put the ball away. You're better off, in my opinion, to knock the heck out of the overhead, miss 2 or 3, and get your rhythm and timing back than you are to punch the entire match and lose to Mickey Mouse.